Hey fishing friend, JC here with Rad Railing Fishing. I'm going to be showing you some of the best saltwater lures that you can have in your tackle box, and then I'm going to be giving you tips on how to fish with those lures, and I'm going to be showing you some fish catches, right? I hate it when people make these how-to videos and all that stuff and they don't show them actually catching fish, so I'm not going to be that guy, right? So we're going to get to that, you guys, right after this. My number one choice bait to have in my tackle box, soft plastics and different ways to rig them. You can see they come in different sizes, different colors, different shapes. You've got the DOA shrimp soft plastic here. You've got a soft plastic you can buy pre-rigged with a weight and a hook in it. I like to use that particular one for snook fishing. We've got a crab soft plastic here, probably good for tarpon. You can get them in smaller sizes, good for sheepshead or anything that will hit a crab, right? So you got your twitch bait jerk shad fluke type lure right here. I use these in shallow water areas. You can fish them. These lures can be fished in any depth of the water column, and that's why I have to have these in my tackle box. You can use, depending on the size of the jig head or the weight, you could rig these weightless. You can rig them with a jig head that has a weight. You can rig them weedless with different type jig heads, like bass fishing with bullet weights. There are just a multitude of ways to rig these lures. Here's your weedless twist lock hook that's got a weight on it. You can get these in all different sizes, size hooks and different weights. So there's just a ton of versatility with soft plastics. I've got to have these in my tackle box, and they will catch any fish that you're going to find in saltwater in Florida. I've caught snook on these, redfish on these, ladyfish on these, flounder on these, bluefish, Spanish mackerel. I mean, anything that'll chase a minnow or a shrimp. And if you get it, you know, something that mainly feeds on crustaceans and crabs, yeah, you're good to go. So I've got to have these in my lure, in my tackle box. This is probably the most popular way that I rig this lure, is just, yeah, for finding fish. Unless I'm in a heavily weeded area, that's it right there. And I have a different size hooks and different size jig heads in my tackle box to rig up with these soft plastics. And I have a whole bag full of different colors and sizes too. But I'd say if there was one color to have, I mean, if you were just going to have one color soft plastic in your tackle box, it would be white. That would be my choice to have. White seems to work in any color water that I'm going to be fishing in. Next thing you're going to find in my tackle box, hard plastic lures. You got your Topwater lures. They got rattles inside of them. You can get them with and without rattles, all different sizes and colors. You got to cover the top of the water, right? The next one is you've got your lipped lures. This is a, I don't know if they call this a jerk bait, but anyway, this is my favorite hard lure right here to catch snook on. They're great for jacks and ladyfish and stuff like that. That's the yo-zuri holographic minnow. And yeah, that thing dives, I don't know, anywhere from like maybe 3 to 5 feet, depending on how you hold your rod tip. But these are going to come in all different sizes. You can get them with bigger lips here, so they dive deeper. You can use them when you're trolling, throwing off the beach, throwing offshore, out of a boat. Yeah, they work anywhere. So that's your lip lure, and you get a lot of action out of these. They just wobble back and forth when they go through the water. And my most recent favorite bait, Danny turned me on to these, and now I got my buddy Otis, who just swears that these are the best of the best lures to use. And this is your suspending type twitch bait. This is a Meridian right here, and you can get these in different weights, so you can work different depths of the water column. And yeah, you just throw them out there and let them sink however far you want them to sink. But you can get these lipless baits right here in like rattle traps. They're really, really heavy, and they have a lot of rattles inside of them. So yeah, that's your lipless twitch bait. They've got lipless crankbaits, but those are your hard plastics. These are the three main ones that I keep in my tackle box, cover the different water columns, and to catch the different fish that I'm fishing for. These mirrodines right here apparently work really good in shallow water. They're slow sinking. This particular one sinks slow, and I've caught a few fish on them, and I am convinced they are a must-have lure to have in my tackle box. So hard plastics, heck yeah. These hard plastic lures are going to catch any fish that you're going to find in Florida. Tarpon, snook, redfish, ladyfish. I even caught a sheep's head on a mirrodine one time. I think he thought it was a little crab jumping up off of the bottom or something, but that was a pretty cool catch. All right, next up we've got lures that are made out of lead or tungsten. They just sink straight down to the bottom. You've got your, yeah, obviously they do that. You got your snook jig right here. This will catch snook and cobia. I've caught black drum on these. Jacks will hit these. All kinds of different fish will hit these big jigs. But you can get these in all different varying sizes. They make little pompano jigs. Here we've got I think this is made out of tungsten, but this is the cranka crab. I didn't fish much with this during sheep's head season this year. I tried it a couple times, but I caught some big sheep's head last year on the cranka crab. That was a lot of fun. That's a great lure to have in your box. Banana jigs, silly willy jigs. These guys right here will catch just about any fish you're going to find in saltwater. I've caught ladyfish on these, jacks. The main fish I use these for is pompano, and I combine them with these little teasers. I've got a video on how to tie these teasers with an electric drill. It's an awesome video, all different colors, and you can tie these things cheaply, you guys. And then I've also got a video on how to combine them with the goofy jigs, the silly willy jigs. But yeah, those are your leaded lures, and they catch all different types of fish here in Florida saltwater. All right, guys, as promised, I'm going to talk about the different ways that I fish these lures. Let's start off with the soft plastics. The main thing when you're fishing a soft plastic bait is you're trying to figure out what presentation is going to be the most appealing to the fish. Actually, with any lure you're fishing with, that's what you're trying to figure out, right? Once you figure out that pattern and what presentation works, then you're going to start catching more fish. So generally with a soft plastic, depending on the water depth, I'm going to start out fishing that. I'm going to cast that out there, and I'm just going to twitch it, reel, twitch it, reel. And what happens, it causes that bait to twitch up and fall, and it makes it look like it's an injured minnow or an injured shrimp or something. And most of the time, the fish will hit it when that thing is on the fall. But here's the thing. I tried that method when I was nighttime snook fishing with paddle tails around dock lights, and I tried the twitch, but it just wasn't working. What worked there was a straight retrieve. Those snook started chasing that thing whenever I was doing a straight retrieve, and I'm like, hey, I think I'm onto something. Then I basically just figured out the speed that those snook liked to hit that paddle tail at, and it was game on, man. I was catching snook after snook after snook once I figured that out. So one time I was fishing at the jetties, right? And I had been catching Spanish mackerel on paddle tails, and by just casting it out there and using that same method, that twitch, reel, twitch, and they were hitting it. I mean, they were hitting it up high. Then the Spanish mackerel bite shut off. I'm like, what in the world? So what I did is I let that paddle tail sink all the way to the bottom. 3-ounce jig head, 20 feet deep of water. I let it sink all the way to the bottom, and I twitched it, and bam, I got hit right away. Crazy thing, those Spanish mackerel had moved way down deep, and I started catching Spanish mackerel down in that 20-foot depth of water at the jetty. So that's why I love fishing with paddle tails. I said it earlier, it's a very versatile bait, and you just have to figure out what presentation is going to work best with those fish. Okay, let's move on to the hard plastic baits again. I'm going to repeat myself. You always just have to figure out what presentation is going to be the most appealing to the fish, right? I love fishing with that yo-zuri holographic minnow. I have caught so many fish from shore and out of a boat and in a kayak using that. I mean, they are great baits to buzz right along the edge of the seawall. First thing in the morning, man, you'll catch snook and jacks, you catch ladyfish, you'll catch all types of different fish. I caught Spanish mackerel on those things, but basically with that lure, I'm just throwing that thing out there. I let it hit the water and I just start cranking that thing really, really fast. And depending on the depth of the water, the cool thing about that yo-zuri lure with the lip on it is that if you hold your rod tip up high in your reel, that lure comes up higher to the surface. And the lower you hold your rod tip down to the water, the deeper that lure will run, right? Snook go absolutely berserko over that holographic yo-zuri minnow when you're ripping that thing along the edges of the seawall, or you rip that thing through a light at night. I've caught a bunch of snook night fishing around lights on that. When you take that lure and you've got the bridge shadow where the lights from the bridge are casting a shadow down on the water and the snook are hanging out on the edge of that shadow, you take that yo-zuri lure and you burn that thing, I mean, as fast as you can get that thing going in the current right along the edge of that shadow, and those snook will come out. I mean, if they're hungry and they're feeding, those snook will come out and just annihilate that yo-zuri lure. So yeah, and then with it, like the miradine lure, it's just that suspending twitch bait miradine. It's just basically a lure that sinks slow. I'm fishing in shallow water. Throw that thing up there around the mangroves and just twitch, just twitching that thing as I'm kind of reeling it in. And every now and then just stop it and pause it and twitch. Twitch that thing. And those fish will go absolutely crazy if they're hungry, right? And then the other one is the Topwater, okay? The Zara Spook lure, I love using the Zara Spook. I've got mirror lure, Topwater lures that I use for snook fishing. Speckled trout will hit those things, ladyfish will hit those things, snook will hit them, and basically you're just casting that thing out there, you let it hit the water, and you're walking the dog with it, right? You just pull your rod tip and it jerks it one way, you pull your rod tip again and it jerks it the other way. That's all you have to do is just twitch your rod tip and the lure will do the rest. Now those Topwater lures, they come in a lot of different variations. You can get them just with little spinners on the back of them, little torpedo lures, and yeah, so basically that's the way that I work those. Just throw them out there, and you have to figure out, here again, it's that presentation. Do those fish want it really slow or do they want it really fast? If you get a strike and you miss it, do you jerk that Topwater lure a lot faster, or do you slow it down and wait for the fish? And it's just trial and error. That's all fishing is. It's trial and error, right? You're just trying to figure out how these fish want the particular bait that you're presenting to them. And you know what? This applies to all different fishing baits across the board, right? If you're not getting a hit on a silver Topwater lure, switch over to a bone-colored Topwater lure, or a silver and black, or a silver and blue. Switch it up, because, yeah, fish are attracted to different colors. Same thing with powder. It just applies to all different lures. Just switch it up if you're not getting a hit, right? Until you figure out what it is that these fish want to munch on. All right, let's talk about these lead baits, the real heavy baits, the jigs and the banana jigs and the cranker crab lure, right? The snook jigs, I'm just basically, when I'm snook fishing, casting those things wherever it is that I think the snook are at, generally in the current, and just bounce those things on the bottom. Reel them 3 or 4 times, let them hit the bottom, come back up, and you're just bouncing them along the bottom. But if you will see a snook down there like along a shadow line or something, you can buzz that jig really, really fast along the top of the water, and those snook will chase it down and hit it. You can pull them through snook lights and stuff like that. So they will cover a lot of different depths of the water column, but basically those big jigs, when I'm snook fishing, I'm bouncing them on the bottom. Now I've seen people casting on cobia and tarpon with them, and they're just basically sight fishing, right? They see the fish, they cast that big jig out there, and they're either jerking the jig a couple times and let it fall, or they're straight retrieving. They're just trying to figure out what it is that fish is going to be attracted to, okay? So then let me talk about the little banana jigs, the goofy jigs, right? Those basically for pompano, I'm bouncing those things along the bottom as well. Throw them out there, let them sink all the way down to the bottom. Sometimes it takes forever because the water is really, really deep where those pompano are hanging out, and just popping those things, just twitching them on the bottom. Sometimes I pop them a little bit harder, but basically it's just pretty light twitch, so that thing stays close to the bottom. It looks like a clam flipping over, or a little crab or something jumping around down there. And then it's rigged up with that teaser. And I told you guys, I put in this video how to rig up the banana jig and the teaser rig. And yeah, that little teaser is just falling around down there. the fish like are really attracted to that teaser. I catch more pompano and ladyfish and catfish on those teasers than I do the actual banana jig. But yeah, that's the way I work those lures, just basically bouncing them on the bottom. Now, that banana jig, I have fished just specifically trying to catch ladyfish with those, and then you're basically just throwing it out there and you're just jigging it and reel it, jigging it and reel it, or you're just reeling it straight in. You're trying to catch a ladyfish to use for like snook bait or something, and those little banana jigs and silly willy jigs and teasers work great for that. The crank a crab, it's the same thing, you guys. You throw that thing out there, you let that thing sink all the way to the bottom, and it's a crab walking on the bottom, right? So you're just barely twitching that thing and just barely pulling it along the bottom. You're not doing real erratic actions because crabs are very slow movers, right? So that's the way that I'm fishing those crank a crab lures. Just slow on the bottom, just twitching those things. And I tell you what, those sheep's head just freaking, man, they hit those things really, really hard. There's no doubt about it. You definitely feel it when you get a hit on the crank a crab. And man, I got to get back to fishing with those crank a crab lures. But look, guys, so this is just one of the things that when I see people give presentations on what lures are really good and how to fish with different lures and stuff like that, I always think, why aren't you putting some fish catches in there? Why aren't you putting some proof behind everything that you've said? So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video and you understand a little bit more about saltwater fishing and some of the most important lures to have in a tackle box and how to work those lures and yeah, some of the different fish that you're going to catch in Florida with those lures. Thanks for watching this video. Thumbs up are appreciated. Get out there and go fishing, man. Life is fun. Live it. See ya!